Hi, everybody. Hi, Facebook. Welcome to the Sheldon Concert Hall and Art Galleries. My name is Peter Palermo. I'm the Executive Director here at the Sheldon. And I'm with a special guest today, Marcel Cacdac, who I've known for many years, is from San Francisco, is a San Francisco-based sound engineer, who I knew in my past life in San Francisco as well, when I did a lot of concert production work. When we were looking for exhibits to put up for this summer, I immediately thought of Marcel, who has been documenting his life on the road, doing rock and roll shows around the world for some years. So we have the exhibit up, we've had it up, we opened in May, I believe, and we will remain open until September 6th-ish, we may go a little bit longer. If you come down and do Golf the Gallery, which is happening right now at the Sheldon, you will pass through our Kranzberg Gallery and you'll see all of Marcel's work today. So, Marcel, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you.
Thanks
for being here. You came all the way out from San Francisco.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm going to turn it over to you, so we'll talk a little bit about your work. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background and who you are and where you come from. Tell us the Marcel story.
The Marcel story. So let's see. Let's start with 1997. I moved to San Francisco. Wanted to be a Grammy-winning record producer, and none of that happened. And so I got a job at a sound company, and they put me out on the road. And my first gig was in 1998, doing monitors for B.B. King. It was a big gig for me. It was a big gig for anybody. That was my first gig, just kind of feet to the fire, and I haven't looked back.
First gig was B.B. King?
That was my first gig.
Wow.
Yeah.
Explain to people, because I think this is a big part of your career, is actually, what's monitor? What's the monitor guy do?
So there's two sets of audio for concert production. There's front of house and the PA, that's what the audience hears. And at that time I was specializing in monitor engineering, which is the sound for the stage or the artist.
Right, so it's what they hear.
It's what the artist hears.
Yeah, so now tell me, like, when did you begin to sort of photograph and document what you were doing?
Well, I think I've been doing it all along. But I haven't really. I was doing it kind of haphazardly, you know. It was like, oh, here's a group photo, or here I've got a disposable camera, and I'm gonna like take a few shots here and there, and just kind of, document, I was more interested earlier on documenting what's happening on stage, because I couldn't believe what was happening.
Yeah.
There was all of these, heavy hitters, these blues musicians, these rock musicians that all of a sudden entrusted me with their art, and
you've got the best seat in the house.
I've got the best seat in the house, so why not take advantage of it? And then I started kind of shooting a little bit more seriously, probably in the last 10 years or so. And that's mainly just due to the fact that it was more, became a sort of therapy for me to be on the road, and I would find kind of that Zen moment, if you will.
Why do you need therapy on the road, Marcel? No, seriously. What's so hard about the road?
It's, we're out there and working all the time. We're not sleeping in our own beds. We're on we're in a van driving, perhaps. Perhaps we're lucky enough to be in a bus with 11 other stinky roadies, and there's no privacy. And so any moment that I could get that would, that could be part of my self-care, where I could just grab that little tiny sliver that could be mine, where I could meditate for maybe 30 seconds, maybe stretch backstage, for a second.
This is a good photo to kind of, I think, that illustrates that sort of quiet moment, and maybe a little bit of the solitary nature of being on the road. I mean, to talk about that.
Well, and that's a good point. So we're traveling a lot every day, thousands of miles, hundreds of miles, traveling in between shows. when we are hitting the showtime, we're surrounded by people. But as soon as the show goes down, everyone leaves, and we're back to work. We're loading it all back into the trucks. We're flying. We're on buses. We're on trains. We're driving. We're traveling. We're on planes, it's these are the moments that, for me, were important for me to catch, because it illustrates how lonely it can be on the road, but we're not alone, right? And so these started out as images for myself, like I said, as therapy, just going through stuff, and cathartic, a sort of a cathartic process for me to express my creativity.
Well, and I think that one of the things I like about your work is that you catch these, I think, really exquisite moments of interest and beauty in an escalator, right? I mean, all of those lines, sort of not intersecting, but sort of intersecting. It's a really interestingly composed photo, and I can see that you saw it and snapped it, right?
Right.
And you probably were only standing there for 5 seconds.
One of my main goals early on was to never stand still. Always stay moving. Of course, that's kind of morphed into different things, and I break my own rules. I set my own rules, I break them, and they're there to be smashed, right? And so I'm always constantly evolving what is kind of my parameters for myself, and how I can take these shots. But early on, it's I still don't ever want to stock or compose a shot. I want to stay moving. So
we were all really impressed with your artist statement that you wrote for this exhibit.
Thank you.
So it was really, once we got it, it kind of even changed our thinking about what we were about ready to put up, sort of expanded it out a little bit. One of the things in your artist statement that you mentioned is synesthesia. So maybe if you would just talk about what synesthesia is and what it means. And I think maybe these two photos.
These are a good example, yeah. So synesthesia, just a blanket definition, is when it's a neurological condition when your body has input to one sense, but you involuntarily trigger one or more other senses at the same time. For example, I can, in my mind's eye, let's say I say to you, Nirvana, Nevermind album cover. You see that in your head? I see those things, those images in my head when I hear music. So as plain as day as you can see that baby going for that dollar bill in that swimming pool right now, I see abstract shapes, colors, and they all dance and they all morph to the rhythm of the music. And so that...
so you're saying is then you see sound.
I see it. And it's different for other people. Some people can have like a gritty taste in their mouth when they're hearing music, or it can be any of the senses being triggered by one or the other senses. And so these are the things that help me in my engineering. So
I would think, yeah.
Right. So it's a way to be able to speak to the artists and the clients, and we're talking about warm or cool colors that describe music. It helps out a lot. And these images here are kind of edited in a way. Actually, this one's not even edited.
And you shoot everything with your camera phone, right?
The images, I would say 99% of this collection is all on a camera phone.
Yeah. Which is another thing I love about it, actually, is that it really is in the moment.
Right.
In a way, it's photojournalism, right? Because it's so spontaneous.
Right.
And that's part of what I've enjoyed about it.
I tried for a while using a DSLR. It was great to get nice stills, portraiture, but that's not really what I'm I've moved away from portraiture, and I'm still interested in landscape and kind of time-lapse photography and that kind of thing. But for this collection, these are things that require kind of spontaneity, off the cuff, and
I interrupted your train of thought.
That's fine.
You were going.
So these
talking about
these images. These are a good example of my synesthesia. I mean, this is an actual yellow subway in Moscow. But when I entered into this tunnel, I mean, you can see there's many people down. It's really deep underground. I was overcome with these different colors, and so I just took a quick, over my head kind of shot, and I kind of forget about shots, and then I'll go through my gallery and go, oh, you know what, that one's really interesting, and then it gives me time for reflection, and that's kind of what helps me with my self-care, and really focusing on my mental health when I'm out there.
It's so easy. I mean, I've been on the road too, as you know, and it's so easy to fall into bad habits.
Yes.
And looking for comfort, and a way to relax and unwind that are not healthy at all.
Yeah. It's too easy.
It's too easy, right? It's like, here I am on the road. I deserve 2 scoops of ice cream because my work is so hard and I'm not at home tonight.
Yeah.
And
etc.
Exactly. So it's good to have an outlet that is healthy, right? That improves your mental health,
right? Yeah, and this actually unedited photo is a good example of things that I see on a regular basis. These lines and just kind of how they flow. I'm a big fan of symmetry, and these are things that I see in my mind's eye just listening to records. So I saw that and I was like, oh my God, how did you know?
Where is that?
This is in Manhattan at the Public Hotel.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
One of the things, we're going to see, let's see if we can switch the cameras, and I want to come over here to this side of the room.
Sure.
One of the things that you stand next to the photo, sorry. Here, switch place, come over here to this side. One of the things that we've talked about with your work is how you weren't interested in trying to capture concert photography.
Right.
But you talk about that.
Right. I mean, there are many very good concert photographers out there, and I'm not trying to compete in that. I mean, there's world-class photographers out there, and we can find those images, and they do a great job, and I'm never ever going to aspire to take that kind of footage, I enjoy that footage, and that's my scroll sometimes on Instagram. I'm just scrolling to that stuff, but I think what interests me more is capturing the moments that when the artist and that concert photographer are backstage before or after the show or any other time. We're out here working, and there's little moments that we can grab, and this is one of those moments. We were at Lock-In Festival near Arlington, and they weren't calling for any rain that day. But we set up a bunch of our stuff, and we put tarps and stuff down. This was another band on the bill that day, and I don't know if they had tarps or they had covered their stuff, but the storm came in really fast, and we watched the storm from the bus backstage, and it knocked down a wall. This wall.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's a turntable stage. So you set as you're playing, your band is playing here. There's a wall, and there's another band setting up. When your band is done playing, the turntable spins, and then you play. That wall fell over and smashed the opening band's gear. It was horrible. It was horrible, and we're watching tents flying, and we're like, oh my God, what is happening up there? So we get up there, and this is what happened. And
that poor piano.
That poor piano. And I posted this on Instagram. I was like, $25 for a tarp or $25,000 for a piano, and that's on the cheap end, right? But
yeah, of course.
I hope that piano made it. That poor thing.
But so this is, to me, maybe I should stand on the other side, shouldn't I? Should I come over here? That'd be better. To me, this is part of what makes your stuff so interesting, is you're capturing these moments that only you get because of your position in, as a crew member, and you're backstage. So these are moments that can only be seen by somebody in your position.
Right.
And then it's also only you are going to see the visual interest in this moment and capture it. So to me, this is like so uniquely Marcel, just in terms of what it is,
right,
and the fact that you took the second to capture it, right?
But just for the record, before I took the shot, I texted the owner, okay? Just so I said, you better come get your piano. Yeah, I sent him a
No, I mean, you're not going to throw yourself down in front of to save the piano and like try to...
Right, but I took a picture, I texted him, I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that poor piano.
That poor piano.
So I'm a big fan of this picture too. This is great. So see how we're doing. Oh, we're doing good.
Yeah.
I want to move over now to the other side if we can.
Sure.
This photo has been featured a lot, I think, on our Facebook pages, and I think it was in the newspaper article that came out yesterday. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that photo.
This is special for me. This is the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, home of the Grand Old Opry for, when did the Grand Old Opry start there?
Must have been in the 30s.
30s,
probably,
I think it was the 30s. And so there are some venues out there that are just so historic, and when you walk in, you feel that vibe. You feel what the vibe of every artist that came before
hallowed
you.
Ground.
It's hallowed ground, you've got a beautiful venue here. You must feel that when you walk on that stage. You feel that, And it's hard to capture that in photos, right? So once again, going back to the tour photographer, nothing wrong with capturing that shot from the knee up, from the pit. Like, there's all that emotion. But for me, the Ryman is it's its own thing. It's a living, breathing entity in and of itself. And this is right before sound check. So I've got my little setup here, and we're setting up our stuff, and they're doing tours throughout the day, and people go up on stage, and they've got the Grand Old Opry mic, and they take their pictures. Woo! And but I've been there, I've done maybe 5 or 6 shows there, and every time I'm just kind of overcome, right, with just this, and tried to find a way to capture it, and this was kind of my best shot at it in those 5 or 6 times I've played
it because
there.
it really captured the church feeling of the Ryman,
right?
Because it's an old church.
Yeah, they call it the Mother Church.
So there's still pews, in the seats, and then there's stained glass. But if you look carefully, you can see all the production gears back there.
There's the technical stuff right there.
So it's a living, working concert hall. Rock and roll venue.
It's a rock and roll venue,
as well as country now. So
right. Any genre.
So this one's, and I love the way that the light is just touching the top of those pews there.
I love it, and it is kind of that dark during the day up there. If you've ever been, and it's just a special place, and it's you guys have kind of a mini Ryman here feel.
Well, funny you would say that, Marcel. We talk about the Ryman a lot here because it's hallowed ground, and the people from coast to coast know it. We want the Sheldon to be known like that too, because this is where legends play too. B.B. King was here. Right. Willie Nelson has been here too. So those boards of our stage are just as legendary. So we're working on that. So we need to tell our story to the world. So when you're out there, you tell our story for us. Okay?
I will.
About the Sheldon.
Of course.
While we're standing right here, this looks oddly familiar to me.
Yeah,
And that's two friends here in St. Louis, I think, right?
Yeah, that's within close proximity. I mean, you could probably walk out and throw a paper airplane and hit it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the fabulous Fox Theater, which is right across the parking lot.
What made you? What did you see that you wanted to get there?
This isn't even anywhere near, the concert venue itself. I mean, this is a set of stairs that goes up to the balcony. And if you've ever been to the St. Louis or to the Fox, you know that it's an architectural marvel. It's a masterpiece, and these lines are kind of, I think you'll see themes that these sweeping lines in my work where I really dig how all of these things work together, and you've got multiple vanishing points. And I had to get that little mezzanine balcony thing right in there, But this was another quiet moment,
Yeah.
There was maybe one other person in the lobby, and he was counting merchandise, he was counting in shirts, and I went out to say hi, and on my way back, I was like, I'm just gonna look around, I'll be a little late to sound check.
It's fun to be, talk about first to show, last to go, which is
right.
That's our life, right?
That's it.
And it's fun to be there, though. I mean, I enjoy those quiet moments before the show.
Yeah.
And those moments after the show can be long.
Yeah.
But they feel good too, right?
They feel great.
It's a good show.
Especially if it's a good show. And all of the things that we do prior that get us to that moment, those 4 clicks before downbeat. You can't replace the energy, how electric it is in that venue when that happens. And so all of our hard work goes into this, and then we get the payoff every night. We get an artist that bears everything for 2-3 hours. And we do that like that's ours,
That's it, yeah.
Woof.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we feels too. I want to give you the chance to say anything that we haven't hit on yet.
No, I think we've covered it all. I mean, is there any other pieces that you want to check out?
Do you have a website or anything that you could tell people that you'd want to direct them to? You can go ahead and give a plug.
Plug it.
Yeah.
My Instagram is Tour Life Photos, and I have a website. It's Redbubble, and it's Marcel Cacdac. And if you just search Marcel Cacdac at Redbubble, all of these images will be available there. You can get them on canvas, metal, frame prints. I think I have a few masks.
These are also for sale as well.
And these are also for sale.
If people want to come down here and grab this shot of the Ryman, they can do so. So I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to pick out for myself.
Do you have it narrowed down?
I do. We didn't talk about it, and I don't know if I want to make them move their cameras or not, but there's a photo you have. It's very colorful of all the knobs. I love the knobs shot a lot. For some reason, it speaks to me.
I'm such a knob.
There was... something else I want to talk to you just quickly about, because I've noticed in some of your photographs, it's sort of a little totem that appears in some of your photos. And I think he's on the payroll of George Lucas, I think.
He is.
But he appears in quite a few.
He makes cameos,
Yeah.
and it's that's funny. It's a really great story. You'll see this little caricature or miniature of R2-D2 in a lot of my photos. I was careful to include or disclude R2 in this collection.
So
but
I must have picked these up from others.
He made it into one in this collection that I thought was that was the one for this collection. And he sits on my console every day as just kind of like a good luck memento, a good luck charm. The story behind it is that my son, who's 15 now, gave it to me for good luck when he was 5. Actually, I nicked it from him. And he's probably watching right now. He's like, yeah, you did. I nicked it, and then I kind of asked for it afterwards, and that's kind of how it became. So I ended up, he was basically my garden gnome. So I take a picture of him at the Colosseum in Rome, or all of these different landmark places. And he did make it into one. Do you want to go see it?
Yeah, can we move? Can we move, guys? Is that okay?
Cool.
Okay.
That'll be like the last one.
The last thing we talk. Lead the way.
Yeah. There's the knobs.
There's the knobs. It's so colorful, and I just love, it makes the knobs look so monumental in a way because of your perspective there.
It's definitely forced perspective.
Yeah, so I really like that one.
Let's see, where's he at?
Where's our 2?
He made it.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah, there he is. Maybe George will send me a new one after he sees this.
Yeah, he's down there in the corner. This is a pretty, I mean, as far as like rock and roll heavy hitters, tell us who's in that picture, Marcel.
So this is a rehearsal that we did in 2013 at a house in Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles. It's a haunted house. I stayed there for about 6 weeks. If any of you watch Californication, you will recognize the billowing American flag that hangs from the ceiling. The producer character in Californication lives in this house. This house is consequently owned by a producer named Rick Rubin, and we were staying at this house rehearsing for like about 6 weeks. And I would sit, this is from the perspective of where I would sit every day, and the band would play, and it just so happened that Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was doing a handstand, and Thom Yorke from Radiohead was kind of in the background, and my friend R2 was in the foreground, and I wasn't really supposed to be taking pictures, and hopefully the statute of limitations has run out. But I had to just give that a little bit of a snap, and then I tucked that away for a long time. And when I was coming up with, when I was doing the editing for this collection, I had about 2,500 images I was working with. And I think I ended up sending you 50, about 58, and then we only had space on the wall for a little bit less than that. But I'm glad this made the cut. It was one of those moments that's never going to happen again.
Well,
you know
this
what I
is
mean?
a product again of your privileged point of view, right?
Super privileged.
You're the only person, I assume, who saw that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
don't think there's anybody else there.
No, because the rest of the band were on break, and they were just working some stuff out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, that's work, right? You're on your head doing a headstand. I mean, who doesn't work like that? But that's a fun one. I really like that one.
I do too. I like them all, Marcel. I'm so pleased that we could put this work up. I've been an admirer of your photography for years.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're happy to be able to share this with the people. I feel this is a really great example for the Sheldon of bringing in our visual arts and music and finding ways to connect them and make them, bring them both together at the same time, I think.
I think it's a great bridge.
So, yeah. So thank you for coming to St. Louis as well.
Thanks for having me.
He saw the arch. Went to the zoo. So we're trying to do some of the St. Louis stuff.
Went to Cement World.
Tough. Oh, you snuck into
this morning, really early. Just some good shots from there.
That's cool. So I think that's it, Marcel. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you. Yeah. Bump. Okay. Bye.
Bye.